talking to you today is a mission that we had to do, a mission that came out of our Chief Marketing and Communication Officer, which at the very beginning it felt impossible. The key ask that we got was how are we going to be reinventing marketing? Reinventing marketing just by operating across 3 different verticals. First of all, integrate a tool that allows seamless integration of strategy, how we could enable and automate content creation, and last but not least, how we could expedite the marketing activation. And I'm going to be taking the remaining 10 minutes to walk you through how we did that, and then showcase a demo, how we elevated what we did internally within our team, and we took it to our clients. Just some key highlights that essentially make us feel really proud about it was the user adoption. First and foremost, within 2 months, we had an 84% average usage from the people that were using it. And what is remarkable over here is how fast those tools essentially resonate with people when essentially you are releasing time, when you are helping them to release traction through some of the operations that they have to go through. But what the feedback that came from our Chief Marketing Officer was that it's not a tool that only reduces time back to the employees, but allows them to do 3 things. First of all, think bigger. Secondly, being more strategic, and then have more time to effectively make use of their time. What we are seeing on the generative AI is a shift on how we are approaching common tasks. And the example that I like to give is the way we used to do things prior to GenAI. We spent approximately 10% of our time in order to gather content, and the remaining 90% to synthesize it. With generative AI, it's essentially a paradigm shift. We have 90% of our time to use and collect more useful information, and then the remaining 10% to leverage generative AI in order to help us throughout that journey. Without any further ado, let me essentially walk you through some of the challenges that we are seeing out there. As the generative AI landscape, let's say, evolves out there, there's a lot of traction and, let's say, time spent on building more and more use cases. But if you want to truly reinvent yourself, what you need to do is start leveraging other tools, one of which is the AI Agentic framework. And some of you might have heard the AI Agentic framework, but there is no silver bullet on how to approach that today. And this is what we have seen with other clients that we have done so. There are many few clients that essentially have leveraged autonomous agents that work with minimal human oversight and essentially push them into production, and they have been able to do so at an enterprise scale. And talking about challenges, I just want to share with you 3 key challenges that some of our clients, let's say, had while trying to do so. First of all, you're trying to build, if I can call it, an army of AI workers. And the key challenge is when we are talking about people, we are talking about machines, is how you're going to making those, let's say, people orchestrating and communicating with each other. How are you going to be making one agent talk to the other? And of course, while doing so and preparing for production scale, there comes questions around, okay, how I'm going to be optimizing the cost, how I need to shift the ways of working so that I'm prepared to the new. What is going to be the governance around the processes that I'm going to be developing? And several other things. And although the AI community is not yet there, and there's no, let's say, single framework on how to do so, what we want to do is overlay with you the foundation that we have developed across Accenture, and it has proven quite successful with several of the clients that we have been working with. And let me take 3 minutes to walk you through that framework. Essentially, it's composed of 5 different imperatives. The first one is lead with value. Start by identifying for your organization, for your industry, what are the key use cases that you need to get started. And then while you're getting started through this journey, make sure that you're investing time into the most strategic ones. The second one, where I'm going to be spending most of my time, is around the digital core. And when we talk about digital core, there are three different things that I want you to, let's say, take away. First one is the data. There's no AI without data. Data is the fuel. Then you need to make sure that you're having the right platform that will allow you to do things in a future-proof way. You need to have the right models, the right LLMs, so that you're able to materialize the value of your data. Of course, you need to do that just in a secure way. And also, quite likely you do not have the power, the compute power on-prem in order to do so. So the question there is how you're going to be leveraging the MAG players out there, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, in order to help you do so. Like with any other disruptive technology out there, there's going to be changes on how we are working. How we're going to be shifting from the traditional ways of working to the new one. And personally speaking, the analogy that I like to give when I'm talking about talent and ways of working is we had to go through the same shift approximately in the 1980s when the personal computers came out and we had to convince our workers to start using them in their organization. We're expecting a similar thing to happen in the coming 6 months, 1 year, 2 years with generative AI. I'm sure several of you over here would have heard about EU AI Act. So any AI application that goes into production needs to comply with the EU AI Act. So the question out there is how are you going to be doing that in a responsible way? And AI is not something that is static. AI is something that is continuously evolving. It's not like an SAP project where you design it, you deployed it, and you're done, you're out of the way. AI is something that is evolving, it's dynamic, new data come in, new use cases go into production, so you need to have a continuous reinvention of yourself. But enough about the horizontal slides that you see at the top of the slide. What's more important is the 4 different verticals that are important as a framework to allow to do generative AI into a scaled way. And over there, we have highlighted 4 different things. The first one is autonomous agent. How you can build an army of AI workers that will allow to resonate, plan, and act autonomously. Not like the AI agents or the virtual agents that we are having today, where they automate certain things, but always there's a human in the loop, essentially to, let's say, intervene. Enterprise cognitive brain. I'm sure all of you over here in your organization, you have data silos. You're using many different platforms. You have some data in Excel, some data in a database, some data into Confluence, some data into a SharePoint, some data in the cloud. And the question over there is how you build an enterprise cognitive brain, how you scan all those information, vectorize them, and put them in a digital form that allows a GenAI tool to know that, okay, for the question that Gerasimus asked me today, I need to pull data out of supply chain, out of marketing, and then synthesize all those together in order to create a single source of truth, a single source for my customer data. Switchboard. All of the organizations out there have already started experimenting with some of the off-the-shelf GenAI tools that are available out there. Some of which might be the Geminis, the ones that are offered from OpenAI, so on and so forth. Some others might have progressed and also brought in their open source counterparts. So where I want to go is you start gradually to build what is known as your LLM garden, which is lovely. But then while you try to do so, you are one front from hitting a wall. Hitting a wall in what sense? You need to have an AI orchestrator that will allow you at every single prompt to decide which model I need to use. And this is where you need to have a switchboard solution that will allow you, based on the accuracy, based on the cost, to decide whether I'm going to be using an open source tool versus a managed service one. So that needs to happen autonomously, and there's no business rule that you can apply in order to do so. And last but not least, I talked about lead with value. I talked about strategic bets. But what we have seen is a shift to the usage of the LLMs that large organizations are using there. A shift in what sense? The appetite to start building more industry and domain-specific LLMs tailored to their data, and just by removing the general knowledge that all those tools are having today. And this is a framework that we have built across the Max and NVIDIA, and we have taken it forward with several of our clients. Approximately, we have 2,000 client projects where we have employed one of the four imperatives that you see over here. And this is what we did for our marketing and communication office. Let me, before I walk you through the video, tell you how it used to be traditionally versus how it will be just by using the AI agents. Traditionally, it will be a sequence of steps steps that will be hard-ruled, and approximately it will be composed of, give or take, 84 different processes. 84 different processes in order to activate more than 120 different use cases that our Chief Marketing Officer asked us to do so. But at any single point in time, the whole process is human dependent. And the exam question that we got is, how are you going to be taking having the human to oversight all these process versus intervening in the steps that there is traction. This is where AI agents come into play. And what you're seeing at the bottom is the different pieces of the puzzle that you need to start building in order to go through such, let's say, an operating model. Okay. I might have given you the helicopter view around how you can use the AI agents to do so, but let's see a video or a demo that essentially demonstrates how you're integrating strategy, automated content creation, and marketing activation all at once using GenAI agents. And then I would love to open up for questions and also to hear your thoughts. Okay.
Accenture Song AI is the future way Song will deliver for its clients, enabling all Song practitioners across digital product, marketing, commerce, and service with access to GenAI agents, co-pilots, tools, and integrated workflows that empower multidisciplinary teams to deliver more value and differentiation for our clients. Workflows seamlessly integrate several GenAI tools. The workflow UI can be used to navigate back and forth to manipulate inputs at any time. This marketing workflow demonstrates how Accenture Song AI will support the growth of an existing brand into a new market. Accenture Song AI integrates first-party and open-source market data with user-uploaded unstructured data to produce practical market research. The co-pilot's equipped to monitor real-time market trends, empowering teams to make agile, data-driven decisions, rapidly adapting to evolving market dynamics. Our AI enables the creation of synthetic personas, or digital representations of customer segments, to provide input and validation across the complete workflow. Accumulated market and customer data is used to generate comprehensive briefs. Our co-pilot ensures briefs include the required details to inform the creation of materials that are tailored to meet specific business objectives and strategies. At any point, you can export your progress in a detailed branded document or presentation to share with your colleagues and clients. Our creative development tool assists the rapid generation and iteration of creative territories, image, motion, copy, and layout direction. The Asset Studio facilitates creative variations aligned to recommended media channels. It also automates taxonomy, metadata, and tagging to streamline content management and distribution. Our validation tool leverages synthetic personas and predictive analytics to simulate human perception and forecast the effectiveness of assets across target customer segments. It incorporates recommendations for optimization, including guidance to reduce carbon footprint. Accenture Song AI is the future way Song will deliver for its clients, powering our leadership in applied GenAI for growth.
Before we open up for questions, what you saw on this demo is essentially automation of 4 different steps. First of all, it's the ideation aspect. Start seeking autonomously and crawling market data in order to start thinking about the new product. Then it's the content creation. How are you going to be taking the image and the text models in order to help you with the design of the new product, with the text that you need to leverage through the digital channels in order to complete the activation. How try it out and create a digital twin in order to see on synthetic users how this thing is going to be tested again. And then, of course, enable the whole enablement through your digital channels. Thank you for your attention. I think we still have 4 minutes for questions. If you can help me with the back button.
Could you go back?
If you can describe me to which slide you're referring to, I'd love to take your answer.
In some points, I see critical thinker. Could you explain the way that you did it?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, critical thinker.
Okay, so what we are saying over here is the exercise that you need to go through whenever you're thinking about the Agentic framework. The Agentic framework, essentially, first of all, it starts by ideating and thinking, what are the different type of agents that I need to develop in order to enable my, let's say, the use cases that I want to feed. So the analogy that I like to think is you have the list of the use cases, and then you're starting, let's say, crafting what are the Lego pieces that I need to have. One of which is the critical thinker for helping you, for example, to crawl autonomously the market trends that you're seeing out of the web to help you with the design of your product. So there's a critical thinker that every single time that you're ideating and you're coming up with a question, it essentially helps you with the whole audience selection and the idea testing.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
So in the environment that we're living, I want to ask you, how do you position yourself in the ecosystem? Because you showed something about social media, about advertising, in this triangle between agencies, advertisers, you, social media agencies. So where do you see your position in that ecosystem? It is interesting because also advertising agencies are creating AI solutions. So
this is a very good question. I think nothing is going to be changing if you're asking me, but what, let's say, generative AI will allow you to is something that you didn't have in the past. If you could go to, let's say, a market agency today and you'd ask them to create a campaign for you, give or take, it will take on average approximately 90 days or 4 to, let's say, 10 weeks. But what we did not have in the past was the ability for rapid prototyping. With this tool, you can go faster to your customers. You can first create something that is going to be AI-driven, pass it to your designers in order to help you quickly go to the 80%, and then use the remaining 20% where you're going to be allowing the designers to intervene. So my perception is timing savings and more rapid prototyping for your people. So hyper-personalization at a scale, something that is not possible today.
Thank you.
We will still have, excuse me, we will still have the human beings.
The human is driving AI. So
It's okay.
all the LLMs, they need the humans in order to ask a prompt, ask an action, check the outcome, and then reiterate so that you have, let's say, close to the desired outcome. Because still, we are not at the stage where AI have mimicked the human intelligence. There always needs to be the human aspect in the loop.
My question is mostly about one of the biggest problems of LLMs and agents, about how much they hallucinate, especially for enterprise level applications when you integrate the knowledge of the business. Sometimes they can hallucinate with the general knowledge and even something that it doesn't exist. And sometimes for the user, he doesn't really know if it hallucinates or not because doesn't know all the data. So, do you have any strategy about to reduce this risk and make it more secure and reliable? Yeah.
Very good question. And I'm going to be answering it in, let's say, two ways. First of all, just by a general statement. Generative AI, although it's much faster to, let's say, try a POC and see what's the value, it's much more difficult and timely to shift from the POC into the production, into a scaled execution at a later stage. Why? Because as the person over here called out, there are several different things that you need to take into account. One of which is responsible AI. And on the responsible AI, you need, for example, when you're thinking about scaled execution, to do two things. First of all, ensure that you're having the right guardrails, that they're going to be checking the content, that is passed from the user, and also the content that is get generated, so that it's adequate and it complies with the process, the policies that come from the organization, come from the EU AI Act. I see that you might be from the engineering world. So question that you might have for me is lovely. Okay, you've given me the 1 million footprint view, but how you do that in practice? One of the things that I've seen and I have tested out with my teams is, apart from setting up the processes that they're going to be doing the scanning, is okay, you have one of the LLMs that is, let's say, feeding your use case, but then you have a completely autonomous LLM that essentially is testing, is auditing the content that gets generated from that LLM. And it's getting audited in terms of, let's say, grammar, in terms of tone, in terms of content, and in case it identifies that, okay, that is not appropriate, it's getting blocked, because the LLM that you're using for your use case, quite often it might fall into the trap of hallucination, bias, so on and so forth. So use an independent LLM in order to audit the responses that get generated from the other and have them challenge each other.
What about the cost factor? Because we're talking about saving time to produce something.
That's the key question that essentially prevents.
And especially, I'm sorry to interrupt. Especially about the cost, about the end consumer or the companies that they're going to use these LLMs, agents, etc.
Okay, I'll tell you what are the practices that I'm seeing with some of the clients that we are working globally. First of all, you want to try out that essentially the whole idea it works. So what you will do, okay, let's use one of the off-the-shelf LLMs and try it out. Try it out quickly so that I fail fast and I go to my business and say, okay, this is still Star Wars for me, it cannot happen. In case you get the green light and you see that this is possible, then you start thinking, okay, how about the cost? And over there, what we are proposing on our clients to do is, okay, take one of the open source LLMs that is available out there and try deploy it on-prem, and then see if you can get similar accuracy to the one that you can get, for example, with Geminis, with the GPT-4s, and then you might be able to, let's say, automate 80%. And About the remaining 20%, what we have developed is an asset called switchboard, where essentially it's an orchestrator. It decides, based on the complexity of the question, whether it needs to use a GPT-4 or it can rely on the open source one, for example, a Llama 3 deployed on-prem. And then this way you have your problem solved. But unless you start thinking about all those 4 components today, you won't be able to move away from experimentation. And right now, vast majority of the organization are stuck into experimentation. It's cost, it's responsible AI, and all the other things that you need to factor in whenever we are talking about scaled execution. I think we can have time for one last question.
What are the biggest obstacles you see in the application of the new EU Act?
First of all, the biggest obstacle is a large portion of the organization are not yet prepared, have not yet, let's say, written down what is the list of the AI applications that they are having today, and they do not have a systematic way in order to classify them into low, medium, let's say, high, let's say, warning signal, so that they have a mitigation action to undertake. So there's no systematic repository around where is AI plugged into the organization, and no automated way to classify the danger.